Hello.
Let's. Wait, I was so confused. I was like, I don't know
Oh,
what's going on.
Steven's Twitch and what Twitch and all that. Well, Steven is the black box there, and then Jacob, obviously. Well, so I don't fucking know. It's something about technology. It doesn't work for Steven. I know. He tried to explain it to me, but
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Probably would have been. Okay, are you ready? Can we go? Can we go? Can we do it now?
We're starting the intro now.
I think so. I don't know. Now my confidence is shaken.
Why? It sounded.
no, you're
it
perfect.
sounded great to me. Okay, hold on. Let me just get rid of all this trash that I just recorded, and we'll go back. Okay. Now we're ready. All right, here we go. Here we go, Lando. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No, you can't. You gotta wait for the goats.
Wait for the goats, baby.
Give it to just.
Am I going to hear the goats?
Yes, you're gonna hear the goats. That's what I said. Wait for the goats,
Okay.
and then when the goats are done, after the third neigh, then you go, and then we're good. Then it's the intro. Okay, ready? Here we go.
Okay. Tell you about the only thing I can commit to is doing the first part of Silent Night.
Just
I think we just do the just trail off.
okay. No, that's perfect. Okay, here we go. 5. Okay, shut up.
Then
5.
people be like, "Is that Silent Night?"
That's hurting cats. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode, the first disaster of that is Staring at Goats, a quarantine podcast, the podcast you've always wanted from here out in post-apocalyptic town, where the virus has wiped out many things, including our lives and our normal day-to-day routines. We're here to bring you a little bit of levity, a little bit of news, and a little bit of know-how when it comes to getting things done here in this world that we've found ourselves in. And I'm joined by two experts who know how to get that done. One being my wonderful brother-in-law, Jacob, and then Lando, and I'm going to let them tell you who they are.
I am Jacob. I am the producer of H&H. I am drinking a wonderful home brew. Right now, I'm dealing with a pregnant wife who's supposed to deliver in a couple weeks. And I'm trying to finish up some housing renovations because I was that guy who decided to renovate his house before his wife gave birth. So yeah, that's me.
I'm going to go back and steal the mic from Landon because I forgot to tell you what I was drinking and who I am. I'm Steven. I do horseshoes and hand grenades and co-founder of Two Dorks and part of the flim flam that's put this show together. And I'm drinking a Blue Moon because that's basically what I drink.
That's right.
Now Landon can go.
And my name is Landon Hawley. AKA Harry Truman. No, I am a farmer and consultant in the Pacific Northwest. I guess now the plague lands of the United States, on the front line of the epidemic that's happening now. So I am here to kind of guide you through this new world that we live in. I've had a few weeks now really to think about all of the strange and weird and interesting and terrifying and bizarre, all those strange things. Weeks now to think about all of it, and I'm here to guide you through this new world that we live in. So it's interesting to look around. Sorry, go ahead. I mean, we live in the new world. Let's see where we are.
So I wanted to just level set with everybody because I think when you say I'm going to do a podcast on the post-apocalyptic world we live in, it becomes...
Well, hold on. You know what? I did it too. I forgot to say I
what
am
are you drinking?
an Alaska white ale.
Well, that's awesome. Is that like a pale ale or what's more white? Is it pale or white? The one that's
this would basically be a wit style ale brewed with spices.
You're just reading the label.
I'm also enjoying the delicious taste of a summer ale.
So a white ale is one step under a pale ale, which is one step under the IPAs. So if you want to think of it in that category,
there we go. Thank you.
It's closer to what you would like, Steven, on the Kolsch end. but it's not. It's kind of right in the middle of that IPA to Kolsch land.
Okay. Well, now I
Well, there
now
we
I
have
understand.
it. So
Yeah.
that is what I'm drinking.
So
Oh, and I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm drinking a bourbon vanilla porter that I brewed a few months back.
Oh, you brewed. Hey, see, there we go. If you are brewing your own beer, not only are you ahead of the curve when it comes to, hey, being one of the first people to really start doing that in this new plague-ridden world we live in, but you can also enjoy a nice, delicious beer.
I'm going to be the most popular man in the neighborhood. Everybody's going to be like, "Ooh, he makes beer." What? Yep, that's going to be me.
And from the looks of it, distilled water is also the jam. So if you just you get yourself a distillery and you make distilled water, which has been very difficult to find here locally, you'll also be a hero. So just to bring you guys up to some history on where this came from, Lando texted me out of nowhere, like 3 or 4 days ago, and you're like, I want to do a podcast on the crap we're facing, the things that are going to happen, what people need to know, because here I am at ground zero and it's gone wild. Everything's
It was
freaking
basically
insane.
2 weeks into isolation, I started really having strange thoughts. But just, new, interesting, and isolating thoughts. Just, this is an unprecedented situation the world has never been in before. And yeah, 2 weeks into it, I cracked, and I was like, Steven, help.
Yeah, you need
And
So,
here we are.
Lando, I've got a quick question for you, Lando. You say 2 weeks into isolation. Can you define what isolation looks like over there in the hot zone compared to what the isolation that we're facing here looks like?
So out here, at the very least, about 2 weeks ago, things started to really shut down. Downtown Seattle, dead, completely dead for the most part. It's really
Mhm.
eerie. No traffic, no people out, no bars, no restaurants. Nothing's been open out here for the most part for the past 2-ish weeks. And even before that, things were starting to slow down. Out here at the very least, there was word of this happening a little bit before the rest of the country started to pick up on it. So people out here have been freaking out a little bit longer than the rest of the country. So out here at the moment, most of the stores, there's not a major run on anything except from the Costco's and the things like that. Apart from cleaning supplies and sanitizing masks and gowns and stuff like that. The
Mhm.
hospitals are having real shortages of basically everything. So that's the biggest problem really right now. There's no problem with food or finding supplies like that at this point. And but it is very eerie and things are really weird. Correction, let me say there's no problem finding food at most stores, and that food is somewhat limited in some cases, but it is still out there. And it's constantly being restocked, I will say that.
You think it's
Well, that's
fair
good.
to you think it's fair to say that it's easy to find food if you walk in a store and it's like you can find it, but you might have to eat like Aunt Edna's spaghetti instead of
Yes,
Marzetti
that's the thing.
or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
No
So,
stores out here are completely rated
Yeah.
because and honestly, it's not that sort of situation either.
Yeah, right.
Although
Well,
the
so-
one thing I will say, the biggest problem I've seen out here, like where I live on Whidbey Island, we have 3 grocery stores. We have a Walmart, we have a Safeway, and we have a little local boutique grocer that has a bunch of local products, that sort of stuff. We normally shop there or sometimes at Safeway, but as far as I know, Walmart and Safeway are both completely stocked out of all the major stuff. So most people are trying to go to Hagen, and a lot of people are looking around at all those expensive products, and they're just like, "How do I buy any of this?"
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
that's really the biggest thing from all this is people who don't have the ability to buy, boutique foods and stuff like that, or the non-brand items. They're going to be the ones having problems, and I have already seen that firsthand. That's been happening a lot out here. Food is
So,
still available, widely available. It's
yeah.
just not necessarily affordable.
Yeah. So Lando, have people started? I mean, I know that temporary workers, or not even temporary workers, but some of the kind of contracts are starting to dry up for a lot of workers, and so we're seeing
Yep.
some people already losing jobs. And then of course you got the restaurant business, where you've got a lot of the cooks who are without a job right now, because they're working either closing down the shops, or they're working these reduced hours just for takeout only. Are you seeing some effects on your end over in Seattle from them being shut down for a couple of
Oh,
weeks,
yeah.
and people started losing their jobs, and people stopped being able to afford groceries and things like that? Is that something that's happening right now on your end?
Oh yeah, definitely. All of Boeing is shut down and has been for at least a week or so now, and that's like 100,000 more, maybe even 150,000 jobs in the area. Costco will soon be behind them. They should have
Mhm.
shut down a week or two ago anyway. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of problems. I know a lot of people in tech that for the most part are secure, but I know a lot of people who have also been on contract positions that are now basically guaranteed to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
It's really hit and miss even in the, quote unquote secure jobs like STEM positions.
Yeah.
When it comes to something like this, it doesn't matter. The scale of everything's that's shutting down right now, it's just not possible for some companies to pay people when they're not getting paid by those other companies. It's there's a big ripple effect happening already from that right now.
Yeah.
We're going on
So
a month of that right now. Because a lot of the Amazon, Microsoft, all that, they started sending people home and telling people not to work remotely, or excuse me, to work remotely almost a month ago now. So
Yeah.
there's been a big ripple effect even so far.
what's interesting is Ashley and I actually did the math on. So we have an optometrist, a local optometrist, that actually stopped seeing patients today, and we were trying to figure out exactly what it would cost for a month of shutdown if he continued to pay his employees, because he has 6 or 7
Yeah.
employees, and he's not seeing any kind of revenue really whatsoever, and so he's still got his rent, he's still got his daily bills, he's still got all of that. And so we were thinking it would be about 25K per month that he would lose. So he's got
Oh
probably
yeah.
4 months of that is 100K. And at what point does he make that decision? I can't keep paying these people, or I got to let people go.
Yep.
And that's what I think people aren't realizing, is that, yeah, shutdown, this is real, but it's also going to have some pretty dramatic consequences on the back end.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that, and like it's just I lost my thought. I had a thought. It's gone. You guys can continue.
No, and so one
It's
more thing
okay.
on
I'm
that
sure
end.
that'll be the first of many tonight.
It
Oh,
went
yeah.
away real quick.
I'll drink to that.
But one more thought on that end is even in the tech sector, we talk about potentially jobs being secure on for now on those ends. But once these other companies who utilize the technology that people are providing, all of a sudden those jobs are going to start drying up, and we're going to start seeing some contracting there as well. So I would
Yeah.
say in the next month or two, we're going to see some pretty dramatic um, impacts or reflections of what decisions we're making today regarding shutting down systems and shutting down opportunities for other people. So this
Yeah.
is far from, we will not see the end of this, or the worst of this, for a couple more months.
No, and that's the thing. Out looking at how it is progressing out here, it's not unmanageable yet.
Right.
And we don't know for sure whether it will or will not be entirely unmanageable out here. We do know that hospitals will at least be running out of sanitary products if they haven't already in the next few days or week. And that's going to really compound the honestly, we don't know. But the
Yeah,
things that are happening out here are now going to be happening in ripple effects everywhere else around the country. So
that's right.
looking at things out here, I may be able to see a brighter future sometime in August or July out here, but that may be way later in the year in the rest of the country and other part. Like this is not going away anytime soon. Like this really
Mhm.
is a new reality. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's like I remember being a kid and watching the whole 9/11 thing happen basically on live TV, and it was like a day that will live in history, that sort of thing. But this is just every day of that to some extent. It's really weird. And
Mhm.
every
Yeah.
hour there's something new and something bizarre and
And like every
whatever
morning,
is going on.
every morning you wake up and like before we're used to what 2 hours.
You're like Picard.
Yeah, damage report. We're every
Damage report.
I love that meme.
I love that meme.
So crack me up. So, but like every 2 weeks, America tends to shift news cycles. Like we go from like this is really important to like whatever that doesn't matter anymore. This next thing is really important. This can't not be important because it's like. And it's the same thing. It's show me the infection count, show me the spread, show me where it's happening, show me the stock market every freaking day. Is what's going on.
Stock market.
We're gonna get there. We got
bloodbath.
We got a bullet
point.
I
know.
That's basically
Trust
resorting
me, it
to,
is on the list. Yeah.
It's resorting to gladiatorial combat over companies. Just people are in there stabbing each other with ballpoint pins.
To that.
I know.
Well, so there are some bright spots in this. I mean, there are some companies that are kicking ass and taking names. I mean, some healthcare companies, Clorox, Johnson & Johnson, and some other companies that are making some of these hand sanitizers and Kleenexes, other things that, I mean, they're ramping up different components of their business to try to accommodate. And I'm not saying they're doing great, but they're doing a hell of a lot better than a lot of the other companies. Because, I mean, if you look at it, we've lost a third of our overall stock price, so a third of our wealth relative to the stock market, and that's companies that have lost.
Boom, just gone.
And we were hiring a certain number of people and we were doing a certain number of quality of projects with this amount of money. Now that we've got this amount of money, can we still keep those same employees and can we still keep those same number of projects going? And it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. Speaking of what's happening, let's buckle down and get ourselves an isolation report.
Exactly. In light of all of this horrifying and depressing and honestly downright terrifying news, maybe there's something uplifting in the world out there. We can only hope.
We can only hope. So let's go through this thing. Oh, I forgot. Isolation report isn't what we're doing. It's what other people are doing. That's
right.
What do we have in here? Holy crap.
So we're going to go with the distilleries one.
That's the story of the day? All right.
That's going to be the one of the day, guys.
Lead us into it.
I know at the very least out here a couple weeks ago, and a lot of other places are following suit now. I see the link there. I read through it earlier, obviously the one in Maryland. But there's a lot of distilleries, there's a lot of breweries, a lot of places like that have any sort of alcohol, in the distillery case, the brewery case, ethanol byproduct, that they are basically converting into an overnight industry to produce hand sanitizer and cleaning products and that sort of thing. It's really cool. Like I've seen a lot of reports from Seattle and Portland. They'll do the little newsreels, and each brewer that has their normal label and their normal, cans or what's the growlers, that sort of thing. It'll just have like a label on it that says hand sanitizer, like 62% ethanol.
Nice.
And they're just like shipping those things out left and right and trying to crank up production on that. It's really cool. A lot of places are starting to try to supply hospitals. Hospitals are getting raided around here for those sorts of cleaning the products and sanitizing products. And even ahead of that, in a lot of other regions, I'm starting to see distilleries do the same thing. Maryland obviously not hit super bad quite yet, but even other places like that, they're starting to, proactively, start building these areas or start producing these things. It's really cool to see that.
Are we
the communities are stepping up in a big way.
Are we on the scale of like, so I know that Jacob, you probably, Defense Protection Act, Trump just signed, which is basically a World War II level kind of thing. Like everybody switches production to the thing the country needs or whatever, or it can be implemented as such. Is this like a precursor to what may end up being like, this is a war on a virus and these companies are kind of pushed or told, because the government has one thing it can tell you to do stuff with, a gun. That's right. They're going to point it at you and say, make the thing we need. I'm not literally pointed at you, but I mean, that's kind of the
economical gun.
Yes, right. You're pointed at you and say, make this stuff. So I'm wondering, like, these companies that are getting ahead of it, do they come out better and longer because they started doing this way early and end up getting more money based on it? And like, there's other companies that are doing weird stuff. Like Razer makes gaming products, and they've dedicated to switching some of their manufacturing over to make masks. That's weird.
That's really cool.
That's like a completely different industry, but a lot of these companies use the same manufacturing chains out of China and Japan and here. And then it's just like, well, we're going to give away, 4 hours of our manufacturing of this item to make this other item at this factory. I just think that's pretty wild. I like to see people banding together before being forced to do it. That's pretty cool. And it works out for them.
The whole voluntold aspect of the government just doesn't sit well, I think, with a lot of people. But I got to tell you, I commend a lot of the companies who are being proactive and doing a lot of this up front. We see this with a lot of the toilet paper manufacturers, which I'll rant about here in a few minutes, but I won't steal any thunder from there. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of these companies transition over, and this is a great example of a brewery who you don't typically think of as being somebody that manufactures hand sanitizer, but here they are coming up with these great ways of creating hand sanitizers. And that's something that I would love the chat to kind of talk about a little bit, or what are some cool homemade remedies or homemade hand sanitizing remedies that you guys have that potentially you're going to have to implement, or that you're thinking about implementing in these times if you can't get your hands on Purell anymore and you've got to go try to figure it out. Are you going to try to use vinegar or moonshine or Everclear, or go down to the ABC store? What are you guys planning on doing for that?
Licking
Tell
my
you what,
palms.
the one thing I will say from the farmer standpoint, vinegar, same thing I've been using for the past, I talk like an old farmer. When I grew up on the farm, no, I started doing this like barely a year and a half ago. However, vinegar is your friend.
Yes,
Doesn't take
vinegar
much,
is.
and it cleans everything.
Yep.
Human spit.
Actually-
Spit into your palms, rub them together. I mean, it worked for Grandpa,
And be sure you shake the hand of your neighbor too with all this disease going around.
There's a
Be
really
sure you do
good.
that as you go into church.
There's a really good. Yes, I'm going to usher at church and spit on my hand every time I shake a hand of somebody. There's a really good video.
Speaking of church, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was
I'll
going to
remember
share.
this one.
Yeah, try to remember it, because I was going to share. There's a video that I need to go find now that I've cited it, where they show you how to wash your hands. And we've all seen the document, or the little thing when you go to a sink. It's like, wash your hands this way. This is how you wash your hands, blah, 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 blah. There's a dude, and he's got latex gloves on, and he squirts black ink into his hand, and then he, acts as if he's washing his hand. And I'm like, holy crap, the way I wash my hands is completely inefficient. I forget to do most of the things, but it shows where you don't get soap.
Yeah, he did that thing, or he
the little
his,
grabbed his
thing,
thumb
what
like
the hell is
this and put his hands like this and stuff. It was really super duper weird, but I'm like, oh, that's effective. I should consider doing that now. Okay, Jacob, talk about your thing.
So I've read a couple of news articles recently where where they were discussing Orthodox churches and how they're still drinking from a communal glass during communion. Tell me that somebody's got to explain this to me, how they think this is okay.
There's going to be a lot of that going forward. I mean, obviously, the whole Korea situation was caused by a very similar sort of thing. Somebody was taking a little hand sprayer of holy water and spraying into people's mouths. And that got 40 some people just from that one little incident. And that spread from there. That infected the whole country. What the hell? And there's going to be a lot of that here. South Korea is not an overly religious country, unlike the United States.
I will tell you
this.
this.
It's going to ravage a lot of communities just through that very
I'll tell you what,
transmitting, whatever.
What Stephanie told me, she said, Stephen, before this plague was a thing, there are churches where they handle rattlesnakes. She's like, this is just this is snake handling churches, but times 10, because viruses are less scary than rattlesnakes to a lot of people. So it's like, whatever, I got to do what I'm going to do.
Definitely to Steve Irwin.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. He liked rattlesnakes. He likes everything.
No, I was meaning that in a good way.
Yeah, he was fine with the rattlesnakes, but germs. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's embarrassing that it happens. I'm like, oh, come on, we can be better than this. Like our church went remote. It was like, we're closed down for at least 2 weeks, and we're putting it online so people can share. And that's
the most interesting thing
Yeah.
about all of this. About a month ago out here, all of the organizations, even the little ones, Chris and I volunteered at a little organization called Stonewater Stewards that has an aging community, and that whole organization had to start thinking about going on fully online about a month ago. And that is a group of people that have never thought once about doing that sort of thing. But all of a sudden they're like, "Holy shit, we got to do this. We got to learn it. What is happening?" And they're really into it though. Like they want to make sure they don't shut down. That's kind of the big thing that I realized was, maybe the world actually can make a quick change if people that committed to not doing things remote, the traditionalists are all of a sudden like, "Holy shit, let's do something different." That gives me hope. It really does. And I think a
So
Yeah.
lot of people are going to be doing that soon.
I have
Well,
a
they
question.
already are, and that will spread in the future for sure.
Yeah, I have a question for you about remoteness and how much runway do you think we have things going remote? I mean, we talk about, remote churches and remote volunteer organizations and remote work and remote all of these things. Everything's remote. So do it from your home. And I agree, it's fantastic to be able to do it. But how much runway do you really think we have whenever I guess people are competing really for attention span at this point because people are sitting down in front of their computers and I got to tell you, boredom sets in really quickly. So I guess I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand how much runway do you think like volunteer organizations have if you're not actually engaged in that, I guess immersed in that
That's
on a
going to
monthly
be the
basis.
key. Chris and I have not Chris and I. Chris in this case was trying to send out a little questionnaire to a big group of people that used to be planning to do all of this through workshops and stuff like that. And basically, we asked them how many hours they'd be willing to commit to doing all of this stuff online and remote. And I was shocked that a lot of people, I figured it'd be like an hour a week or something like that. And damn near everybody said 3 hours plus.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to come down to, it's going to be a lot like online meetings now for anybody who's used to that and does that in the professional world. The things that are important will get done and accomplished just like they always will, but there's going to be a big transition period.
Mhm.
But you're going to get people that are all of a sudden realizing the things that they could not do remotely before, you definitely can now.
Yeah.
Or the things that used to take forever remotely are going to happen really quickly now because people don't have time to bullshit around with it.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
think.
I think I'm also worried a little bit about when the money starts running out for people and the altruistic nature of the time that we're in at this moment
Yep.
is going to start wearing a little thin. What does that look
People
like at
have
that moment?
already started trading and bartering out here. It's really cool. Now, I
Really?
will say I have a unique perspective because I live in a more rural setting. I'm basically in exactly between in the middle of Seattle and Vancouver on Whidbey
Okay.
Island. But everyone out here is just like, I'll trade you some eggs for some jam or something like that. Like there's a lot of people that are going to be prepared to do things like that, and I think kind of happier too. A lot of people have just not really cared about money so much in the past few weeks. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong; they do like they want to like have money to pay for their bills and stuff like that, basically. But when it comes to things, people haven't really given a shit about money lately. That's been really interesting.
Yeah.
It's more about what can I do to get this thing, as opposed to just blindly throwing money at it and getting it.
Yeah, like you've got chickens, so you can be like, you mow my lawn, I give you some chicken eggs, or like
Yes, exactly.
services for eggs.
To a
There's a
point, I've got 16. What do we? Yeah, 15 egg laying chickens.
yeah,
But that's a good start, and it's. And
that's
we
Hey,
enough
have
chickens.
Steven,
goats for goat milk, and if worst case scenario, goat meat.
Yeah,
you want to come over to my house and mow my lawn for a growler of beer?
There we
yeah,
go.
sure. I'm
See,
gonna
exactly.
I'm gonna do
You
that
can,
anyway.
yeah,
You're having so
that sort of bartering.
Jacob's gonna have a baby. He's not gonna have time to mow the lawn. I intended to mow his lawn at this point in the future anyway, so I'm not really sacrificing. This is all part of the plan. But
Oh,
but
and by
yeah,
the way, I'm scared shitless right now having a child that's being born into this completely new changing environment. I mean, we're
You
all
should
used
be.
to this
Yeah.
stable environment that we've created around us, right? Or semi-stable.
Sorry, I
And
didn't
right
mean it like
now,
that.
the
You should
stableness
be
is
terrified,
crumbling.
though.
Oh, I'm freaking terrified. But the stableness that we all knew is kind of crumbling a little bit. And then on top of that, I've got a kid coming, and that's even more unstable. And I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap, my whole world is like crushing down.
Yep.
And wow, this is not going to be a good. This is going to be an interesting couple of months here.
The world is getting real for a lot of people right now. That's
Yeah.
like with Chris working in healthcare. She's getting ready to go off to her shift right now. She'll be working in the emergency room for the next 3 days, 2 days, whatever. But basically, their hospital has 30 plus patients already, and it's only going to go up from there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
jeez.
between that and also everybody's going to get really severely impacted by this. It's
I'll tell
really
you. I'll tell you what.
disturbing.
I want to go back to the
It's
altruism.
disturbing.
It's terrifying. I want to go back a little bit to the talking about the bartering and whatnot, because I've got a strategy to handle like what you're alluding to, Jacob, is when people start eating each other, right? Because someone's going to run out of something to some degree, not eating each other, but basically getting a little more desperate for the things they need. So my goal, and what I think is a pretty decent strategy, may be a sucky strategy and not work for anybody, but I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking, I'm beta testing it with you guys, is by Chris, is by joining up in your, like, take your road, your street, your street, and maybe any small cul-de-sacs on the outside, and just going and introducing yourself to people to some degree in a safe manner, and going like, hey, we're going to set up a WhatsApp group or a some sort of way to communicate that's not next door, because next door is the most toxic world on the
Next
on the
door
internet.
is such a piece of shit.
It's garbage. Everybody's just yelling about stupid stuff. So find like people be like, we're gonna set up this chat. Join it if you want to. If you need something, like I went over to my neighbors and asked them, if you guys need something, text me, because they're elderly. And I'm like, you've let me borrow a pressure washer once, and that's awesome. And I also just want to make sure you have food. And I know your kids live in California, so let's figure this out. And
That's
then
right.
if you go out, just text a handful of people. Like, I'm going to text a few people and see if they need something. You could at least blast out like, hey, I'm at Harris Teeter right now. Just to my street, this is what they have.
Yep.
It looks like they've been restocked. Everybody go over there and get what you need to get. Don't kill each other. If you want me to grab something for you while I'm here, I'll do it. And then you create like a camaraderie, at least in a larger, semi-large group, where if something does go sideways, you've got some good faith built up and you're not all strangers. Because if everybody isolates, then you feel like you're on an island by yourself, and then anyone out there that is desperate for something, you're like, F you, get off my lawn. I don't know who you are. So it's like making this a little bit more community driven. It's one of the I hate to say pros, but it is one of the pros of this, is I've noticed a lot more people engaged in their local
Communities
area.
have come together so quickly.
Yeah, it
I've
gives
seen
me a
out
lot of
here,
hope.
it's almost been overnight. People have been like, "Oh shit, this thing's amping up. We need to figure out like who our neighbors are, get in touch with people." And I will say, especially going forward, once this thing really kicks in and a lot of people start getting sick, you're going to really need to start checking up on people. There may
Yeah.
be some elderly people around you getting it, and it can turn really quickly. So it's important that anybody out there who knows somebody that that lives alone or has problems, health problems, anything like that, we honestly really do need to keep an eye on people.
Sure.
They can
Yeah.
all of a sudden need to go to the hospital and be in a
Yeah.
really big problems.
Oh yeah.
But we're all three part of the same generation, and we're part of a generation that has kind of skirted or flirted with this idea of knowing your neighbor or not knowing your neighbor. Our parents, they always knew the people around them. I grew up and I knew everybody around me because my parents knew everybody around me, right? And today I live in a world, and I think we all do, where we kind of know who lives around us, but we don't really know who lives around us. And oh yeah, I know them. They're the Russian couple that live two houses over. I've seen them, right? So we kind of flirt with this idea that we know our neighbors, but we really don't. And I want to say even the younger generations than us. I mean, because since we're all kind of in the similar generation, I'm not sure that they ever have experienced the level of community I think that you guys are referring to, because we had our parents to rely on, because they were beacons of that whenever we were growing up. But today, this generation, do we have that example of that community? And are we going to have to be the ones who show, I guess, the next generation exactly how that is supposed to look? I mean, what are your thoughts
Almost
there?
certainly, I think. Out here, I don't know. Correction. I think a lot of people where I live know a lot of their neighbors, But out in Seattle, if anybody is not familiar with the term Seattle freeze, it's the idea that in the Pacific Northwest, especially, people come out here with the idea of specifically wanting isolation.
Yeah.
And they don't really care about talking to other people at bars and things like that. And they'll be nice to you, but they won't pursue friendships or any kind of meaningful get-togethers, that sort of thing. But I think you're going to see a lot of that going forward with one group of people all over the country, the people that just don't want to be around anyone else because they're scared, concerned, whatever. And you're going to see the other group that's complete opposite. They want to know everyone around them and they want to have those connections.
Well, you made
But
that
I think it's going to be especially important to have those connections going forward.
You made that observation to me when you moved out to North Carolina from Seattle the first time, and you were like, someone held the door open for me. This place is crazy. I met 7 people on my walk
It
to the
freaks me
restaurant.
out now.
Yeah, you were like, people in Seattle don't do this. This is great. I love all these people. And then 2 years later, you're like, hey, I'm going back to Seattle. Peace out. And you went and bought a farm.
Yeah.
Which is still a tragedy. I'm working
There's
to
an
get over.
idea of isolation and kind of self, what do you call it? The being self-driven out here. Like a lot of people historically that ever came to Seattle came here because it's basically the end of the world.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it does not take long to get real far out in the middle of nowhere, even from downtown Seattle. 30
Yeah.
minutes, you're who knows where.
Right.
And there's nothing around you for 1,000 miles north. It's just bizarre. But that's definitely one thing I'll say, that looking at the future, I think there's going to be a big shift in the kind of West Coast mentalities that are more isolationist. That will either kind of accelerate a lot of people to go more isolationist, or no, correction, they're going to stay exactly normal like they are, but you're going to see more people try to have more of a connection with other people. So basically,
Yeah.
in the Seattle case, I think it's going to get less Seattle freezy, but not by a lot.
Yeah. It's just not in the nature out there.
Yeah, the rest of the country, though, I hope that is not the case. I hope people are more into the idea of communities. Don't get me wrong, people are into communities out here. It's just that they don't openly pursue friendships and stuff like that unless they already know you.
Yeah, got it.
Well, so here's the thing I'm struggling with those comments is that in my mind, the narrative that I've currently got around this thing is we want to avoid people. We want to isolate ourselves. We want to create these little pockets, best case scenario pockets. I mean, hell, I walked into a grocery store and the person who took my credit card handed it back and actually touched my finger, and I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, you've got that kind of mentality going on, and we're preaching this social distancing, and we're preaching this stay away or stay home or isolate yourself. But at the same time, we're still trying to talk about community and build community and try to promote this sense of helping each other out. And those two concepts aren't diametrically opposed, but they are counter each other. And so I'm struggling marrying those two separate ideas into what we've currently got as our reality.
Jacob, you have been a producer of Horseshoes and
that's
Hand
a
Grenades.
very fair question.
You have been a producer of Horseshoes and Hand Grenades for 250 episodes or something. People are not reliable for doing the right thing or even being smart most of the time. People will take a simple instruction and then it will not work because they didn't understand the underlying spirit of the law, as it were. So you have to say things like stay home and isolate, because there are people that are going to be too stupid to know that, like, well, if you go out, just wash your hands to keep 6 feet between you and the next person. Don't hug. That's a lot of rules for a simple-minded human being to understand. You and I know you can go over to your neighbor's house. You can ring the doorbell with your elbow or whatever, and you can step back 6 feet and introduce yourself and say hi. There's people that don't know that. So we're just blanketing out everybody to say, stay at home, isolate. But what the spirit means is don't get up in their face, don't hug, don't shake hands. It doesn't mean don't talk. But I mean, even then, that's why they say keep 6 feet from each other. Because if you talk and you spit when you're talking, as it happens, and it gets in their eye, they've got, pink eye and COVID-19. So you got to be really wary of this kind of stuff.
You want to limit the reasons you need to go into a hospital or any sort of doctoral office clinic.
Yeah,
now.
I'm kind of screwed there because we've got our weekly appointments and I've got a 2 or 3 day hospital visit coming.
Yeah.
Can't miss that one.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
You're
going to
gonna be
be,
in there.
and that's the bigger problem. Normal life can't simply stop like like it will probably need to here in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But I mean, it can temporarily, for a few weeks. But beyond that, we have to really start figuring shit out and quickly. Like this is going to, it's a problem of scale. This thing is just going to amp up, and all of a sudden, how do we solve the problem? How do we figure out all of the problems we have now with our healthcare system, and then once the ICUs and emergency departments are sorted out, that leaves all the other, oncology, cancer patients. They're going to have healthcare ripples from this because they're going to run out of sanitary products, and someone's going to catch a flu or something like this, and then they're dead. They have no immune system. Little things like that.
Yeah.
Just a big ripple effect. But yeah. Anyway, I don't know really where I was going with that. I kind of got off on a tangent.
It was a good thought, but where we can go from there, since we devised
back
loose
on track.
We devised loose segments, everybody, and there are segments that are going to work out as we.
Good time to move on to the next one.
Right, it's time for the next one. Landon, what are we talking about? Or is that Jacob?
Christ, where are we at?
We're at Weird Science.
Well, we could talk about your idiots that aren't listening to the social distancing.
Oh, I've got.
Or we could go to Weird Science.
Let's just play this clip as an interesting little segue you guys can hear.
If I get corona, I get corona.
You know what we did?
At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying.
I guess this
waiting.
kind of flies to the this asks the question or begs the question, and maybe the three of us can tackle this after this video is. Are people taking this seriously? Are there some people in different generations that are taking this differently? Are the people in the elderly generation taking it one way, whereas the people in the Gen Zers are they taking it a different way? Who's doing what? And so I think this segment kind of
let's see what these people that are definitely not millennials and are totally younger than millennials, even though everyone wants to blame millennials for everything. Which I know me and Landon fall into the millennial generation, even though we're on the
Landon and I.
Shut up! I was born when Nintendo was, so I guess that makes that true. But yeah, these idiots. Let's give a listen to them.
Corona, I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying. I've been waiting. We've been waiting for Miami spring break for a while. About 2 months we've had this trip planned. 2-3 months. So we're just out here having a good time. Whatever happens, happens.
Like it's really messing up with my spring break.
It's really messing up.
Yeah, you're buffering.
My spring break. I'm buffering?
Oh.
No,
I think so. Yep. I only caught like every other word on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm dropping frames, you guys. Sorry. Stop it.
Can you?
I know when you're faking it, but
no, you don't.
No, I don't. Never been able to tell. Yeah. Well, let's not worry about that then, since that didn't go over. It was over here, but yeah, I'm dropping frames. It must be everyone watching Onward on Disney Plus right now, which is a segment for another day.
Everything's going straight to VHS.
Yeah, we can get there on another episode because we got.
There won't be an internet left.
No, it's going to be clogged up.
The other thing is maybe that segment is too big to tackle tonight because that is almost a whole show in itself. The difference between the generations and how they're being affected. But what is small enough to tackle tonight is the overall hysteria around toilet paper.
Yes.
What are over in Seattle? Are you still having shortages of wipes and toilet paper and all of those kinds?
Oh yeah. Well, it's been basically constant out here. Now I will say, gas stations and places like that basically have constant stock. I don't know if they're just magicians or what, but any of the major stores, they will get shipments in and kind of have Costco's out here have been putting in like a little ticketing system where you come into a store, get a ticket, and you get like a text or email or something when the shipment is in, and you're single, like they give you a single limited time ability to get one of these things.
Wow.
Yeah, you can.
Like there's literal rationing happening out here for a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, it's not widespread beyond things like toilet paper and sanitary things.
Yeah,
like it's not all there's a run on everything. And why it's fucking toilet paper. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand the idea that people are worried and blah blah blah, but it's not going to, like, this is that type of thing. Like, there's not going to be, like, toilet paper is not going to just disappear.
Yeah.
Like, never again is it going to be produced. Like, it's just ridiculous.
I've found that the grocery store, like you were saying, it has most things, but finding toilet paper, finding water, and finding any paper towels, like paper products at all, like, man, freaking Georgia Pacific's raking in the dough right now. They're like all the money. Give me that sweet fat money, because I mean, we just went nuts. I went today, and I mean, they've got it down to only 2 jugs of distilled water per person. So I could only buy 2 for my father-in-law, who needs it for his CPAP machine to breathe at night. You got people buying it to drink things like these. This is for like humidifiers for people with asthma and allergy problems to sleep, or like leave it alone.
That's the bigger problem with this ripple effect of so many specific people with medical issues. They're screwed. We're going to see so many people die from this, not directly from the virus, the plague. Like, it's going to be all the other people that just didn't have their stuff.
Yeah, there's things they need.
Ashley and I are struggling right now because we're expecting our first kid in a couple weeks.
Diapers,
and we
man.
still
Good
need
luck.
Diapers.
They have been out for weeks out here. I hear.
We placed an order for some. Steven, you're going to love me because I actually went to Amazon and ordered off Amazon because I can't get it in for the next 3 weeks. So I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to go ahead and place an order on Amazon.
I'm going to give you some bad news.
Stock, they'll ship it in 3 weeks.
I'm going to give you some bad news. You're going to want to go ahead and learn reusable diapers.
Yeah,
because that's the new reality out here, my friend.
Yeah,
and we have some. But what's interesting about
nasty, though, like, how do you clean that?
We had a friend of ours. Steven knows this. It's a mutual friend of ours, and their kids they use reusable diapers, and they would wash them in the laundry room and hang them up. But every time you walked into their house, it just reeked of shit. I mean, it just smelled awful.
Yeah,
and you could tell exactly what it was. I mean, it was shit. It was
like
awful.
having a dying cat. Like,
yeah,
your house smells like a dying cat. You don't want that.
Bad. No.
Well, I'll tell you this. I got you some diapers today, Jacob. I found them and I bought a box. There's 96. That's to last you 3 days. You got it. You're gonna be great.
I love my Brotato.
I got
this
you.
This is what I'm talking about. You got some extra toilet paper over there, or am I gonna have to like use some of these alternative forms of toilet paper? Like the newspapers and the kitchen towels or the kitchen rolls, or the Bounties. I mean, am I gonna have to start going there?
I do have toilet paper. I don't have paper towels. So I am. We have been through.
How about this? I will trade
go
you.
For it.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I will trade you paper towels for toilet paper.
Okay, that seems fair enough. How many toilet paper rolls is equal to 1 paper towel roll?
I think two toilet papers equals 1 paper towel.
I think you need the toilet paper worse than I need the paper towels. So we should go 1 to 1.
1 to 1. Well, so what's interesting about this whole thing is that people are flushing these alternative forms of toilet paper down the drain. We're talking the newspapers and the kitchen towels or kitchen towel rolls, the Bounties, and the different kinds of wipes and all of that. They're just putting into the commode and flushing it into our sewer system, and it's causing these ridiculously massive blockages in cities. And I'm not talking about like individual blockages like in your homes. I'm talking about like on a citywide scale. You remember the H&H show that you guys did about a year ago where you're talking about the big fat blob. I think it was called Fatberg in London.
Yes.
Where it clogged the entire sewer, right?
Yes, I remember that. It was grease. It was grease and oil and junk that made its way in there. Yes.
White was the main culprit. But think about the impact that we're having on our environment right now with that. I mean, we're causing workers to go out and have to clean that up. So there goes the social distancing. We're causing homes to flood. We're causing shit to be spewed everywhere in an environment that we want to keep as sanitary as possible. I mean, just think about the environment that we're creating. And I don't know. In my mind, I feel like there are 3 things that need to be flushed. And they're called the 3 Ps.
All right, and I'm back. Okay, 3 things.
Pee, poop, and TP, baby.
That's it. Poop, and TP.
Those are the 3 Ps.
I got
the
4.
Poop, and the TP, baby.
I got 4 Ps for you, Jacob. Pee, poop, TP, and puke. Because you don't.
Oh, and puke.
And
I like it.
and salsa. Bye, Chris. And salsa or taco
They say
soup.
bye.
Taco soup. Lando and I had only a little bit of taco soup left in a pot that we had made, and it wasn't enough to eat, and we needed to get rid of it. And we
This one's
Landon
I
and
still
Dave.
remember.
Landon and Dave flushed it down the toilet because our apartments didn't have garbage disposals.
Oh my goodness.
That was the nastiest thing. It looked like Hagrid vomited. I don't know how else to. It was horrifying.
God! No, God, please, no!
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good time. So this seems like a good time to switch to how do we do stuff around here in a world where we don't have what we need. So we've got some how-tos and DIYs that we've loosely put together. And I can start with the work from home one-on-one, and then we can come back to the more intense how do you plant things conversation we wanted to have. But there's lots of people working from home. So
Me.
Jacob's working from home. He's new to it.
I'm working from home.
First time, baby.
Oh, wait, you mean first time or just in general?
Well,
what are we doing?
We're all working from home in general, but there are people out there who've never done this before. Jacob has worked from home sporadically in ways in which he can handle it. I've worked from home quite a bit, but I go to the office a lot. You're traveling a lot with what you do, but we work at home when you work it. You kind of get it, but you're surrounded by chickens and stuff. So it's like, how do you not get distracted? How do you make sure that you work while you're working from home and continue to make money? At some point, someone's going to notice if you're not getting things done, unless you work at a place where they just don't track it, and then one day, who knows what happens. I've got some tips that I hope can be corroborated by these guys. And a few of those start with your day and how you start it. Step 1, get out of bed. Step 2, take a shower and brush your teeth and get ready for your day. Step 3, put on some real life clothes, people clothes that you could walk out to the grocery store in. It might not have to be
Pretend
the
you are
suit.
meeting with your coworkers.
Yes, what Landon said. Pretending you are meeting with your coworkers and you are getting all your clothes on to go out and talk to them. Don't keep your PJs on. PJs tell your brain that you're still resting. They tell your brain that it's time to watch Netflix today. And
Tell your brain that you're a lazy fuck.
Yes, they do.
So real quickly, are PJ bottoms acceptable if you put on like a collared shirt?
No, because you're gonna sit around and you're gonna reach down in your pants and you're gonna scratch your balls and you're not gonna be working in real life anymore. You're gonna be somewhere else and you're gonna be thinking about the baseball game.
Yeah, and if you scratch your balls, be sure you wash your hands. 20 seconds.
Tell you what, the only thing I will say when it comes to comfort clothes, so having a mostly remote job and having had that for the past 5 years or so, well, semi-remote, but it's been mostly remote for the past 2 years. Anyway, I have a pair of comfy clothes that I put on specifically for work. It has a top, it's basically a giant, giant fleece, puffy shirt, but from the outside it looks like a quote-unquote normal flannel shirt. But it's just like, so. And then the pants that I have are basically wool lined fleece pants of some sort, and they're really nice too. But I put those on specifically for work, because I can actually get on a conference call and nobody will know. I look professional. That's the key. You can wear comfy clothes as long as they look nice, and as long as when you wear them, you feel like a business professional.
So,
that's
it's
about the mentality.
You've got a mullet outfit that you wear, where you've got business on the top, party on the bottom.
Yes, that's basically 100% true.
So
I will say, and this is no joke, some days I get so bored that I'll dress up in like the basically one step down from a full suit, and I'll walk around, I'll get my nice shoes out. I'll my Steve bought my first fashion designer shoes for the
Steve Madden
of my life. Steve Madden. There we go. Yeah, I'll put on my Steve Maddens and strut around.
Doggy. So in other words,
and then
whenever
I'll
you walk out,
do sales calls like that, and honestly, I feel like $1 million, and you can hear it in my voice.
That's the truth, though.
Yep.
Does Chris just look at you and go, Lando,
Oh,
what's going on
Chris
with
is
you
used
today?
to many bizarre things. Yes, trust me, that is not one of them. That's perfectly normal any day of the week. Who knows what I may end up wearing?
You do feel more confident wearing a suit, though. Like
Oh,
you
absolutely.
feel you carry yourself differently when you dress differently, and you don't. I mean, you don't have to wear a suit; it's not a thing. But if you try it one day, just wear a suit, and you will be like, I kind of feel like a boss. I kind of feel if it fits well. If it's
And-
ill fitting,
and
you'll
it
feel
is
like a goober.
100% a real thing too. Like it's not just bullshit. We're not just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, wear a suit. Blah, blah.
Yeah,
It's real. Like that is a thing.
you
Same
wanna,
thing with people who wear lab coats.
yes.
They get the feelings that they are important and they need to like speak accurately. I don't know whatever the terms are, but whatever you're wearing will dictate how you act and how you treat yourself. Basically,
It's got to be
hold yourself. There we go.
It's got to be a good fitting suit. You want to look like Ben Affleck, not Ron Paul. You don't want
Exactly.
it look like you got a head the marshmallow on a toothpick sticking out of a suit with shoulder pads. That's a bad move.
So the real trick is
tailored.
find yourself somebody who's young and has tailoring skills. And then, when you come over for your little casual parties, you can just have him kind of, whip you something right up there and, give it a shot.
There you go.
Nice.
So yeah, put on
Also
put on
important
a
life
clothes.
skills.
Yeah, for sure. So put on some clothes, get up, get to work. And I think the one thing I've learned
And
that-
have a routine.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, oh good. Yeah, my routine sucks, but I'm working on that. But the thing I've noticed, especially if you work at home with either dogs or kids or whatever, I've learned, and though it pains me to do it, I have to shut this office door. I can't have it open, and I have to put on headphones because
You need an office.
the minute I hear like Stephanie struggling with Sam or Sam arguing or whatever, like it sets off dad mode. It goes into dad mode, and dad's like, I can't have this. Kids got to start behaving because I don't want.
Yep.
This is not good for me. But what that also does is it ruins the separation of work and home. So like when I'm off work, I've already been at home all day, so I'm as exhausted as she is or as Sam is from home life. So like when you get off work, you walk in, you're like if you have a 30-minute drive from the office, you're like, I've been at work all day. I don't even know what's going on. I get home and walk in the door and I'm fresh. I'm ready to tackle whatever home problems have occurred. Working at home, you've been living in those home problems all day, and it's liable to stretch you
Yep.
a little harder than otherwise would.
So, Steven, I got a quick question. Did you try the super secret walk today?
No, I didn't because I got off work and I'd already told him, like, I told Sam I would play as soon as I got off work, so we went and played, and then we watched a movie. So it was good. We had a good evening, but I'm going to work in the basically Jacob's tip was get off work and go for a walk. That's roughly the amount of time that you would usually be driving home, so that you can kind of get yourself a separation, like a time separation between work and getting to your house. Help that.
That was the one thing I struggled with whenever the first couple of days that I was working from here was I would just go straight from work into whatever I had going on, whether it was a renovation or something I was dealing with Ashley or whatever we were doing. And it was like there was no transition period. Whereas for the longest time, I've always had that 25-minute drive. So I would decompress on that drive and I would think about what I was preparing myself to get home. I was listening to NPR. I was listening to music. I was getting myself prepared. And now I've realized this week, yeah, when you open that door from work, it's all bets are off at that point.
Yeah, you gotta find yourself a separation. So if you're working from home, I would love to hear other people's tips. By the way, you can email us at staringatgoatspodcast@gmail.com. So please send us email. I want your tips. I want your ideas for that. I would love to hear from any and all of you, even if it's just a comment on the show. Staringatgoatspodcast@gmail.com. Be a great place to put your comments and your thoughts. But do you guys want to save the next thing for like the next episode? Because we're running up on an hour now, and I feel like we could go just as long on these other. I'm good if we keep going.
So
if you guys want to
maybe
do it.
let's skip. Why don't we skip the plants? But let's talk about the crystal ball a little
Yes.
bit. And I think this could be something we do every week
Yeah,
about what's changed in our lives and things. Because I
completely
really
agree.
like to
This
end
would be
this.
great.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Well,
For our inaugural episode, I am very much pleased with how this is all going so far.
well, good. I'm glad we can make your dreams come true.
While you still can, yes.
Yeah, so we'll just go round table, and I'll just start with my where I'm at. Life has already changed because I'm working at home and I'm thinking twice about going to the grocery store. Every move out of the house becomes a think of like I'm resetting my infection clock. Like every time you go to a store, it's okay. Well, 2 more weeks before I know if I'm sick or not. Potentially, So every time I go out, I'm like, I'm resetting a clock. I'm resetting a clock. I'm resetting a clock. And that sucks. And for everyone in my house, not just for me, but I'm going home and then I'm resetting their clocks because I exist and I've been out in the plague lands.
So let me follow up on that real quick.
Yeah.
Because I do want to at least talk about this because this is the kind of sciencey thing that I wanted to bring to the show.
Okay. Yeah.
So the 2 week, that 2 weeks, yeah, we talk about a quarantine of 2 weeks, but it's more like 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about 2 to 3 days where you're going to be completely asymptomatic and the virus is going to be growing in your system. And then there's going to be about a 2 to 3 day window where you start making that transition to symptomatic. So you start seeing some mild trends where you see, some coughing or some fever or some runny nose or sneezing or things like that. But then that's whenever it hits you after about 4 to 5, maybe even up to 6 days. The 2 weeks asymptomatic, that just means that you're completely in the clear after this 2 weeks. And there's very little chance that you have actually been exposed to it if you're completely asymptomatic.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't experienced symptoms in the first 5 to 6 days, chances are you're asymptomatic and you probably have not been exposed. Now, rule of thumb says, yes, go the full 14 days. But if you make it 5 to 6 days, you could start thinking, okay, I'm back in the clear. I'm all right.
Yeah, I understand that. That's a good point to make. I'm glad you brought it up. But to get into like how life is changing for the future, it's just it's a whole new ball game. Because you're thinking about, I don't know. I'm thinking about, is Sam going to go to school this fall? Like, is that going to be a thing? Or are we going to have to change stuff up? Like, what does summer even look like? What are we going to do? We can't go on vacation like we could. We're not going to rent a house at the beach. I mean, you guys were going to have a kid anyway, so we didn't know if that was going to work. But like, had we booked it, who knows? And I'm thinking also about Dragon Con. If this stretches into that, Dragon Con is 80,000 people.
Dragon Con's toast.
Well, yeah, and I'm supposed to do a live show at Dragon Con. Like, that was going to be another year of meeting up with my buds that I met last year, doing a huge show, having a blast. I mean, that was going to be a big meetup event for a lot of us, so I'm bummed out about that. But yeah, I'm trying to stay positive about all those things. As far as predictions go, I think I kind of am leaning on the community to end up becoming tighter. I think that coming out of this, if we come out of this, we're going to come out different. There's no way to get around that. But I think our neighborhood, if we can start growing some camaraderie now, it's going to change a lot. We're not a neighborhood of block parties. We're not a neighborhood of really knocking on the door and seeing your neighbors without, maybe across the street and then left and right of us. That's what we do.
You're about to be.
Yeah, but I think I would like to believe that is going to become more of a let's all, meet each other. We don't have to like each other, but at least look out for each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm not interested
at
in
least know each other. That's the thing.
I know people that live up and down the street. I don't necessarily like a few of them. I've met them and hung out with them multiple times. I don't like them, but I don't want them to be sitting up there not getting what they need, right? I want to be able to help them, even though just because we don't like the same things doesn't mean I don't care that you're getting food and fed, and your kids are taken care of. So I'm hoping that becomes a trend.
And I guess it's my turn. Tell you what, out here, I have seen 100% societal changes, and it's really weird. So from my crystal ball sort of thing, how my life has already changed, my consulting career is not necessarily in question, but I'll never travel for the foreseeable future, and that really freaks me out. I love travel. I want to travel. Like, what the fuck? So that's going to be weird. And now every day that Chris goes into work, so she works, she's a ICU and emergency department trained pharmacist. So every day that she goes into work, she is exposed to the patient population that is soon going to be exploding and dying, which will basically keep her in a nonstop, constant threat of getting the disease and exposing me to it. And that really sucks. So that really keeps me up and anxious. I know it definitely does her too. And her hospital is not taking necessary precautions. None of them are around here. None of them really can either. It just sucks. But let's see. Apart from that, what else? A little that. Oh yeah, I am preparing to now deliver a goat in 3 or 4 weeks. Chris was going to before, but now that she will likely be working 24/7 in a few weeks, I guess it's me that's going to be delivering that goat. I've never delivered a goat. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't necessarily want to deliver a goat. I can't say that was something I woke up one day just going, "Oh man, I really want to deliver a goat." But I'm going to be delivering a goat, and that's all that reality hasn't even hit me, and it's just like, okay, what's tomorrow going to be? So as for my predictions, I think we are going to see. I've already seen it a lot out here, and I think a lot of people have seen it everywhere else around the country. People are quickly making adaptations. There's a lot of work that is just suddenly not happening at offices and is suddenly perfectly content at being accomplished at home. Like anybody can work anywhere for a lot of jobs, but for the jobs that haven't been, or can't necessarily be transitioned to remote, what do we do about them? So I think we're going to see a lot of society just simply shift to acting and associating in a completely different way than they do now. I think it's going to be potentially weird, potentially neat. I don't know. I will say that my predictions are based on how I've seen even the oldest and less technically savvy people out here that I would just say, obviously, you take a glance at them and you're going to say they don't look like they care about technology and they will not care about technology. But that's changed in the past like week. It's
Yeah.
really weird. That gives me hope. And I think it's going to be really cool just to see how all of society begins shifting and doing new things and adapting to this. And I think a lot of small groups are going to be the new way forward. People can't necessarily meet up in the big groups of 10, 20, 30, big group friends or big friend groups like they used to. But going forward, you're going to get a lot of close, intimate, small groups of friends constantly meeting up and doing things, I think.
Yeah.
I will say I've seen that out here. A lot of people are all of a sudden like, who are my closest friends? How can I constantly stay in touch with them? And how can I meet up with any of them in a safe, friendly way? It's just weird. But I
Yeah.
think that's going to be happening everywhere soon, and that'll be happening for a long time, I think.
I'm
We're
really
looking
excited.
at least a year out here.
I'm really excited about your goat, and I think that you should YouTube, watch some YouTube videos. If you can't find any good YouTube videos on goat delivery, City Slickers has a really good cow delivery scene when Norman is born, and I think that if all else
Pretty
fails, you could watch that. I know you grab it by the legs and just pull it out of there. It'll be great, and baby goats are adorable. So.
Oh, they're so cute, yeah.
They're
I am
so
excited about once the goats are here, which I think Jacob is probably in the same boat. He's excited for once the baby is here, but I don't think he's quite excited for the baby to be getting here.
The process of getting here is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the process of your goat population expanding is a lot different than our human population, because I think you can wake up one morning and there can be an extra goat on the ground, but here I don't think that's really going to happen. So I got to tell you,
I hope
I've
not.
got an
That
empty
would be
glass,
weird.
so that means that we've got a full hours in tonight. So I've had a great time. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how my life has changed. I think everything in my life has changed. I work remotely, which is new. It's not any better or worse. It's just a new way of communicating. I used to have 5-minute meetings with people. Now it's these 45-minute phone conversations. And you start to realize who's good on the phone and who's not good on the phone.
Yeah.
And the people who have never done this before, never worked remotely before, talk for 45 minutes as if you're having a chat with your buddy, when really you need 5 or 10 minutes on the phone with somebody as opposed to the 45-minute conversation you have with your buddy. So that's been interesting. And then my shopping patterns have completely changed. I'm a 6 a.m. shopper now at Harris Teeter, the local grocery store. I get in there because they do extra cleanings at night. So I'm usually one of the first few people in there. I try to limit my shopping to once a week. So my Wednesday mornings are going to be my time of shopping. And hopefully I can get enough to make it for the entire week, and then Wednesday restock. My travel completely gone, like Landon. I used to travel not significantly recently. I've definitely cut back a lot over the years, but I mean, just I was in the red zone a couple of weeks ago, and I was in Philadelphia for a few days, and Allentown, Pennsylvania for a few days, and Detroit, Michigan for a few days, and then I came back here, and I'm like, oh shoot. So we went to a doctor's appointment a couple of days ago. They're like, have you traveled in the last 2 weeks? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, somebody said yes. What do I do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I haven't traveled internationally, and that's the question that you're trying to ask. And they're like, let me go check. I'm like, okay, you go check. But yeah, so I think everything has changed. And then of course my life was already on a pattern or going down the tracks of change anyway, because we have a kid coming. So we were already anticipating pretty much major life changes to begin with, but this just adds another layer of complexity, not being able to get diapers. Shit, I never even thought of that till now. And so with a kid coming in 2 weeks, I'm like, oh shit, let me order every single diaper I could find from every company and then pray I can get them in time. But I got my Brotato to hook me up there.
96 will not last a long time, but I'm happy to have bought some.
Hey, at least Tater Tot will be clean for a few days.
Surely your Brotato is some executive at Huggies or something like that. Otherwise, you, my friend, are going to be scooping dirt into diapers to clean them out of a river soon.
Yeah, that's that. You're 100% right. But as far as what my life is going to look like, man, I don't know. I mean, with a child coming and everything changing, I don't know what that's going to look like in a couple weeks. But you will know, because I'm going to take you along with us on this ride. And then as far as the prediction's concerned, I think we're scratching the iceberg right now, guys. I think we're in the Titanic. We're looking over the bow of the Titanic, and we're going, is that an iceberg? Because I believe it's an iceberg. And we see the ramification, or we see the things happening. We're like, oh, shoot, we can't make it. We can't make that turn. And I'm just worried about what damage we're actually causing with our decisions, which are valid decisions. But what changes that's going to actually make in a year or 2 years, or how long will it take to recover, or will we ever recover? I mean, these are questions that I don't have an answer to, but I'm excited to find out what the new normal is going to look like. And I think, like Steven, I just want to try to help people out where I can, and meet people's needs at the point of their need, which is all around us. So I'm kind of excited to have this podcast where we could sit down and chat with each other. And I think this is going to evolve to more of a conversational anyway. But I think that's where I'm at, Steven.
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. I've enjoyed this conversation. I had a fun time on this podcast. My hope is this thing ends quickly and this podcast is not necessary. But I think there's always things to talk about in terms of like prepping. Like I'm sitting here with a disaster preparedness handbook in my hand that I reviewed 2 years ago and was like, oh yeah, this has got good information in it, and then sat it off to the side, didn't do a darn thing. Yeah. It's a whole.
And now I'm like, oh shit! I'm so glad I have this. I need to start reading it.
You need to.
And then I'll tell you what. The one thing I will say
too late there, Orlando.
Well, yeah, I know, right? Tell you the one thing I will say, and this is kind of weird. So, about a year ago, I shot and skinned and prepared a rabbit.
Nice.
Normal country thing out here. I was really proud of it. But if I'm going to be honest, I learned how to skin that rabbit from playing Red Dead Redemption, the video game. So for those of you out there that may be listening to this conversation and thinking, first off, that's weird. Why are they talking about that? Second off, to all of you who at some point may have told somebody that playing video games is useless and they cannot learn any skills, or if you were somebody who's at least heard that sort of comment, directed at you, directed at somebody you know, it doesn't matter. Welcome to the new world where suddenly playing video games has paid off. I will be a survivor, folks, I guarantee you.
I just
because
like
I
to
have
think of,
played enough of that game to know how to be a survivor.
all three of us, I think, have been down that road and played way too much Red
I love
Dead
that game.
when we should have
God,
been
I
doing.
love that game.
Oh, now we got a posse.
But seriously, you just cut a little incision at the neck, stick your finger in, and rip everything off.
Yeah.
It's weird. But if
favorite
you
is
need to
the
survive in a pinch,
Yeah. You can't survive on rabbit because they don't have enough fat, but you can eat a rabbit. But you need to
and that's why you
supplement
need to
it,
grow your own garden.
Right, so that's what I was going to get to. So you just mentioned video games, and you mentioned Red Dead, but you did not mention Harvest Moon
Harvest
64
fucking Moon. Oh,
leading
yeah.
to
Oh,
your
trust me.
farm. That
That is the reason I am a farmer now. Also, to my mother, who told me that I should get outside and play video games. Well, you know what? If I hadn't been playing Nintendo 64, being a virtual farmer in the late 90s, early 2000s, whenever that time frame was, then I would not be here where I am now.
Take that,
a
Mom.
hopeful survivor. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Mom, you lying bitch.
And with that,
Hopefully.
ladies and gentlemen, no, you have to end on that. That was glorious.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Drop the
That's
mic.
it.
We're done.
Drop the mic. Walk away. I know your mom can handle it. That's the only reason I'm saying that. But no, man.
My mother loves me.
She does. This is a wonderful show. I've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, we would love to get your support. I don't have anywhere for you to support us yet because it's brand new. But it'll be coming up on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and all places where you get podcasts. It'll be available. It's also going to be available on Anchor.fm.
While they're still available.
Right, yeah. If you're an Anchor user, we'll be on Anchor. Just look for Staring at Goats, and you will find us. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, Landon doesn't use it, Jacob doesn't use it, so just follow me, Steve H&H, on the Twitter.
Actually, you can follow Fake Kills because whatever Steve does, Ashley likes, so we're good.
Yeah, or follow Fake Kills, PHATE Kills, on the other show. And if you want to talk more about this, join us in our Discord. You can go to twodorks.net/Discord. We're in there like all the time. My watch has been blowing up thanks to everybody being at freaking home. Every time I'm walking around, I get pinged about messages over and over and over. I'm gonna have to shut my notifications off. You guys are awesome, and you talk too much, and I love you, and I want you to keep doing it. But it's fantastic. It's a great little community. If you want to talk about supporting your friends, no better way to do it than by being with your friends and chatting about this stuff. So yeah, thank you for being a part of what we're trying to do here, and we appreciate your support and showing up. And Landon, why don't you play us out with a little harmonica tune for us, just to end out the show.
Tell you what, I'm not going to do a harmonica, but I will do my best Carl Sagan. I've
Okay.
been working on this for a little while now,
Okay, go
and I
for it.
hope that the future will look forward and will make the decisions that we could not today. And with that, I leave you all, and I wish
All right.
you well, and good luck.
Bye, everybody.
Whoop, whoop. Bye, guys.
Is he cutting out? What is happening?
I don't know
Everyone's
what just happened.
dead. We already all died. All right.
I played a little banjo for you guys. I think the chat was able to hear
I
it.
forgot you started to learn and play banjo. That's cool.
It's my favorite instrument. I've been working from home, has been great. I played a little of it today while I was thinking about something. But no, that was fun, you guys. I had a good time. That was good. That was,
Yeah,
that
I like
was
this.
good. Yeah, I'm gonna
is good.
mix down the show, and we'll work on our formatting and everything. But that was pretty fun. But thank you everybody for showing up. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream just so we're offline. But you guys are amazing, and hey man, we'll see you next time. Hopefully I'll be streaming something soon, or there'll
Goodbye,
be
world.
horseshoes and hand grenades. And yeah, Landon, everybody has finally met you. We've talked about you 150 times, but there's a bunch of people from our Discord are in the chat, and this is him, you guys.
This is Landon. Yes.
Yeah.
It's great to see you all again. I've heard about so many of you throughout the years, and I'm
Yep.
glad to finally be back.
He's in it.
Back
All right,
better
guys.
than ever, Lando.